Hi, I'm Bide and I am here to help to keep you safe at night. Place me by your bedside and when you wake up at night, I'll play a message to remind you to be safe and to take your time.
So we've just had our first trial of Bide. Jean fell asleep on the bed.
I did.
And it will then sense your movements if you were to get up, pop to the bathroom, pop to the loo, something like that.
Yeah, or if Jean switched on the bedside light, that would also trigger Bide to light up and play its message.
And it played a recorded message that I made, Jean, just to remind you, just to gather your bits and bobs before you head into the bathroom.
Hi Jean, it's Rob here, your silly son-in-law. Just to remind you, take your time if you head into the bathroom. And we all love you.
How did that feel?
It was very simple, and how it would be in the night for me.
Was it quite nice to hear Rob's voice in the middle of the night?
It's always nice to hear Rob's voice.
So we want it to be something, a reassuring voice, a friendly voice from a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife or a grandchild.
Or a grandchild.
A lot of the focus in the falls discussion has been about falls detection, and there are some amazing devices and monitors and smartwatches and pressure pads that will detect falls once they've happened. But, it seems much more straightforward to try and prevent the falls before they happen, because
I agree.
The damage has been done, hasn't it? The fall has already happened.
Yes.
So that's really our emphasis with Bide, to try and prevent the fall, intervening at the moment of the greatest risk just as the person sits up and tries to get out of bed, because their blood pressure can drop, or they might forget they have got a bad knee and not use a stick, or they might have a bit of memory difficulty, or perhaps an element of dementia, or they might just not be taking the time to set themselves properly. And if we can intervene at that moment with that nice message, the friendly message from the relative, or a bit of advice to remember your specs or your slippers, then that can make the difference, just to allow the person to move off more safely.
Yes, that's good, because that in itself is reassuring, isn't it? If you get up in the night, you're feeling a bit woozy, or you're not feeling well, you're aching and you're not sure, it's lovely to have that voice of someone you know and love.
We're at risk of falls if we get out of bed, but also sometimes we feel a bit anxious. And sometimes just having that nice voice just sets you and clears your head a little bit.
I agree with you. If you've been in pain, or say you've had an operation, some surgery, and you're in recovery, you're going to be anxious and depressed, aren't you, sometimes? A bit stressed about how things are going. So to have that nice voice that you recognise is great.
No, Jean, I think you put it perfectly there, because that was really the idea that I originally had about Bide. Was it something, for it to be something on the bedside that just gave that little bit of reassurance to allow the person to set themselves, wake up properly, get the head clear, maybe follow some specific advice. That might be remember your stick, or remember your frame, or
that's
your
what
specs.
Remember putting my specs on. And for me, that will be important, is putting the light on for when you come back in, so there's a light source to follow.
Absolutely.
And of course, the messages that you have recorded on there can be specific to your exact needs. And situation.
Yes. And that's great.
We really wanted to make it something that it was a friendly thing that you would like to have, rather than anybody watching you or anybody listening to you. No, there's no surveillance element to it. It's not taking any data away from you.
No.
And it's not informing, Rob or any of the family that you've got up, because that's your personal action if you want to get up. Time.
Yes, that's true.
It's not disturbing them in the middle of the night. We've designed it so you can save up to 5 messages on it, and they play at random. The other thing we built in, Jean, was that it goes from red to amber to green during the message, because some people can't hear very well, and they might not have the hearing aids.
That's a thing, hearing, isn't it?
I like the fact that this isn't linked to the internet. It's kind of almost in many ways a mechanical electronic device that serves a purpose that empowers the person that it's monitoring. but it's not recording anything. It's not linked to the internet. It's not telling the world about what's happening. It's personal, it's private, and it's useful.
I think that a lot of sensitivity's gone into this, I think. I'm quite impressed. No, I do. I think you've thought all that human, emotional stuff out and tried to incorporate it into this Bide
I mean, I think
thing. It's great.
It's people like yourself who have helped me to design it, because 30 plus years in general practice, you know, I've seen the heavy toll of accidental falls, and I've also witnessed the stress that some carers are under and family members.
Yeah.
And with Bide, we're trying to help both de-stress the carers a little bit.
I think in between.
And provide sort of reassurance for their loved ones, and but just maintain your, your
independence
own
as well,
yes.
which is so important.